Hey, here we are again with the second session of our Capi's a Bag on the cork. So this has been the cork training class. We've done one bag in cork already. It was really super cute. If you have to go back and watch that YouTube video, you can. But this is the second session of working with cork. And in this one, we're going to make this Sophie bag, Sophie little pocket bag that is by Sallie Tomato. The other one we made was from Sallie Tomato as well. They are using cork, and that is kind of what I want to focus on today, because if you've not worked with the cork fabric that's available, it's super, super cool. The nice thing about it is you get a raw edge that doesn't have to be finished. And on this project especially, it's actually exposed. I mean, it's like hanging out there. So it's pretty cool the way that this comes together. I have used a magnetic clip instead of the point clip that she uses. So if you're taking the class with me, when you received your pattern, you received a magnetic clip instead of. So I'm going to show you how I put that in. But otherwise, we've done it exactly as the pattern. And in her pattern, she has you label the parts with letters. I strongly suggest doing that because there's lots of little pieces and parts to this. It's easy to get them mixed up, and just trust me on that one. I've done it. The other thing is, in her pattern, she has a little template that you have to cut a piece. It's kind of like a diaper. But anyway, you have to cut this piece. What I do is just lay a piece of white paper on top of it, trace it, and then I use that for my pattern instead of cutting up my original pattern. I never want to destroy my original patterns. I try to keep those pristine so I can reuse them. So I'll cut this little piece out, I'll stick it in this pattern, and then next time I pull it out, it'll already be made. But it's just made, I mean, I could make it out of cardstock or template. I mean, you could go really, if you're gonna make a bunch of these, I would. Typically, I'm just using, printer paper. So I make my template off of that piece. Her directions, as per usual, are outstanding. Some basic things you're gonna have to do is you have to curve some pieces on these pre-cut pieces. And, it's not an exact science, people. This is a very, very easy thing to do. She does a nice job of telling you how to do that. So, the first thing she has you do is around the corners. And you have to have something that's the right shape. Well, you know what I'm going to use? I'm going to use my zipper tape. Because it's just got the right, the right angle. So, you have to make a little circle on the corners. And that's super simple. You just put the edges here, and there's a nice round edge. Looky there. And I do the same thing over here. So this is that's not brain surgery by any means. I also have to do that on piece B. Same thing. I'm going to make a little line. And I'm also going to do it on this side. Okay, because this makes your inside flat. Now, I will tell you that because of the way the cork is made, when I sew this together, I'm going to have to go back and shape that just a little bit more to make sure it's nice and smooth. But this gives me my beginning start. The other thing she has you do is you measure down just a scooch, I forget how much it is, to make this little curve. Top short edge, but 3/8 of an inch. Yeah, so you just come down just the littlest bit, and in the center of this piece, well, there that goes. Here, we'll just use this. This is fine. In the center of this piece, I put a little dot, and then I connect those two lines. So this is not curved very far. It's just one of these kind of things. And I'm just going to eyeball that just to kind of get, see, it doesn't have to be perfect. This is the not perfect project.
It's just sewing.
It's just sewing.
It's supposed to be fun.
I'm not, doing a, I don't know. Let me, what quilt would be hard? Judy Niemeyer's perfect points with, all that stuff. I'm not doing that. So I just cut that off, and see that just makes that curve. Makes that little curve in here. So it's super, 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 sorry, I closed it for you, good luck. It's that curve right there, okay? And then I'm gonna cut my little pieces off here. And here. And these little parts I throw away. Cork is not inexpensive, and so consequently, I'm usually saving all my little chunks. I've got a little box over here, lots of little chunks in it, because I need them. Typically, you're going to use a lot of little pieces, like, you know, little just chunky pieces. So I'm going to do the same thing with those. And then this one also gets the corners turned. This one, you can just put it on there and just do it like that. I mean, there's just hardly anything there, just to get the little pieces off. Okay. So all these little pieces are kind of protect things, and because we have raw edges that we're not finishing, having a rounded edge kind of gives it a nicer finish than a square point. Okay, so now I've curved all my little pieces I'm supposed to curve, got all my little parts labeled, and now she has us install the snap. Now, I've got to get a magnetic snap.
And make it snappy.
And make it snappy. So I have a magnetic clasp with me here, and I want you to see how this works. There's a right side and a wrong side. So when you look at the button, you can see the magnet is inside a little steel case. So there's actually the magnet right there. You can see the edge around it. This side of the magnet is the magnetized part. If you put this side out, it doesn't, it connects, but it's easy to pull apart. If you do it with the right sides together, it's like, okay? It's got a little power to it. So when you get one of these magnets out, I want you to be sure you get the sides that stick together and know that's the side. I mean, they stick. They really stick. And I'm even gonna put a little dot, like right here, so I remember that's the side that I'm going to want out. This is the side I want to put against that's going to connect to each other, okay? That's going to help you, because when you get in to put it in, it's going to be a little confusing. So, I have two pieces. I have my B piece and I have my A piece. And she has you put the snap closure. Now, in this one, like I said, she's doing the kind that they connect into each other, but I like this smoother. When I did it, because I like this smoother finish. I don't like that sticking up. I want it to kind of just be very flat. So we didn't use that one. You can use whatever you want. Okay, so from the short edge of piece A, which is this one, I measured down. She tells me how far. And this distance still works for these. Your distance doesn't change just because I'm not using her particular snap. And I'm going to do this on the wrong side because I don't want to make marks on the front, because this, if you can see, I used chalk on here and it didn't brush off well. You can still see my chalk, and I'm not getting it off of here, so don't use chalk on these. Draw everything on the wrong side. Okay, so I'm going to draw my line where she tells me to draw my line. And since I'm on the wrong side, I can draw it as big as I want. And then I want to get in the center of this piece. So I'm going to draw another line that is my center. So I'm going to center this like that, because that's the side that's going to connect, I think. We'll have to put them together and make sure. I maybe
have a sample.
Yeah, I have a sample. Which way did I do it? Yeah, that's the outside. So I want, oops, wrong end.
But
From the scalloped end.
That's the scalloped end.
Pay no attention to the person behind the curtain. Okay.
I always have to look at a sample.
He has to look at a sample. That's cool.
Have it in front of me.
All right, so let's do this again. I had it at the wrong end. Something felt wrong. And then, there we go. Okay. So I want the part that I didn't mark facing down. And then I center this on this line that I've made. See that? And you know what I'm going to use to hold it in place?
A stylus.
A stylus and
Zip tape.
zip tape.
Eat a piece of chocolate every time you hear the word zipper tape.
Yeah, exactly. Well, since Easter just happened here, maybe there'll be plenty of chocolate. So there, I put my gooey on there, and I'm just going to center that on those lines. Okay? Pretty easy. And then we do the same thing. This is piece B. And she gives me a dimension again. 1 inch on piece B. Right, okay. So now I go down another dimension, which, there's my center. And then I'm going to put the other piece, and I'm going to do the same thing, and I'm going to put it out this way, because this one will go on here, and that goes there, right? Yes. Because this folds over that way.
Snappy-do.
Snappy-do. So I want this piece to be just like this too. So it's right side to wrong side, okay? And that makes it work. And again, zipper tape, and stick that on there. Now the other thing is, you really kind of want to sew around these little magnets just to kind of help hold them secure. This piece actually has a little cover that goes over it. That's what this piece G is for, to go over that. So I can just lay that on there, and you know what I'm going to use?
Zipper tape.
Little piece of zipper tape. Can you? I buy this by the case. Can you?
Yeah, you always have it on hand. Don't want to be without that.
When I don't drop it on the floor and can't find it.
I don't think you'd want to drop that on the floor with the cats around, especially
Yeah, that's
Copper.
true. Oh, my cats.
Copper
Oh,
would
my kids.
just
Yeah. We had to,
chase that all around the room.
so I was out of town for a little while. Y'all know that. I went on a cruise. While I was gone, somebody was checking on the house for me, and the cats are not allowed in my sewing room unless I'm present, because they play and get into things and get in trouble. Well, I made 8 quilt blocks. They were small ones. And they were checking the house. They accidentally left the door open to my sewing room. And the cats got in there and they stole my 8 blocks. And I can't find them. I don't know. They have to be in the house. But we found one of the blocks laying randomly in a room that it should have never been in. So I know they have them. And I feel sure they've conspired to hide them from me. It's so traumatic. Okay. But yeah, so that's the Copper and Smoky story. So now I'm going to go to the sewing machine. I'm going to sew around this, and I'm going to sew around this. It's a top stitching. It's a finish thing. It's not real noticeable because I do it in black. It's the same as the fabric. It kind of blends in. But that's just to hold these in place. My zipper tape's good, but it won't hold it permanently. So I'm going to sew around these real quick. Okay, so I'm at my sewing machine. I was going to just sew around these, but I remembered I needed to tell you, this is a magnet. This is metal. So this tends to want to tug on a little bit. I will put something over that to kind of help it slide, but it just wants to magnetize to itself, and that's what it's supposed to do. So I'm going to sew slowly, and I'm going to kind of help push this through and make sure that it doesn't catch on my sewing machine and prevent it from stitching. This really is just something to hold it into place. And you can feel it, you know, putting a little piece of cardboard under there kind of helps not magnetize it so much. But you just have to go slow. But the first time you sew that and you're like, oh wait, it's not going anywhere. It's like, oh okay, wait a minute. There's a magnet, and I'm just stitching over it. It's okay. Okay, there we go. And so that's just a top stitch to hold that in place. And I've sewn through the paper, which is fine. That's what paper's for. Peel it off. It really sewed through the paper. It's a good machine. It'll sew through anything. Okay, so I've just sewn a square around that, and it looks fine on the front. And then this piece, same thing. Now, because there's a couple layers under this, it's not so bad to sew. And I'm going to sew. Now, this is one of those things, I want to show you a little bit about how to turn corners. Sometimes when we're doing applique or we want to turn on a curve, if you've never done that, you stop. And what I can see, get my stylus, is right here. I'm getting ready to make this turn. So I'm just going to turn that just the littlest bit and take another stitch. And I'm going to turn just a little bit and take another stitch. And then just turn. Just do it slow. You don't have to, this isn't a race. And then I get to where it's getting ready to turn, so I'm going to just turn. Now I have a stop-start button on my machine, and it makes it kind of nice because I can just take like a half a stitch or a stitch, and then I just sew down that side. Again, I can feel the magnet in there, so I'm kind of having to push against the magnet a little bit. But it's not so strong that it won't move at all. Okay, I'm getting to that turn, so I'm just going to turn, take a stitch, turn, take another stitch. I might have to turn a little more on that one. Turn. I do a lot of applique this way, and it's fun. It kind of gets to be, you get in a rhythm. There we go. Okay? There you go. Sew it around that one. Lickety split. Then I'm going to trim that up. This bag goes really, really fast. Okay. So now that we've put our clasp in, and it looks like the picture shows us, we're going to put these together here. And we're going to sew this piece now. I just need to trim that up too. I need to do a better trimming. This is not getting trimmed good. Okay. Now I'm going to lay this piece on here, and I'm going to sew around here. Now this is why we have those raw edges. Doesn't matter. Now again, I'm just going to use zipper tape. Good old zipper tape. I'm just going to stick a piece of zipper tape on there, and I'm going to slide this right on here. Now if these don't line up exactly perfect, that's okay. I can trim them. And there you go. And I'm going to sew around the side out here. Lickety split. And this is that curve I was showing you again. We're going to have to sew around the curve. You could actually probably sew your lines and then trim it after if you wanted to. I'm going a little quicker here because I want us to... Gotta get done before the day ends, Peter. We're going to be here all day. Now I am wrestling against that magnet a little bit still. It's still kind of, you know, pushing against my machine a little bit. But I can just kind of push it through. There you go. And this is like a 3.5 stitch, so I'm doing a nice little decorative stitch on it too. Now if these don't match up, you can see right here, see this little piece sticking out right there? Please cut it off. I'm just going to trim that up so they're even. Scissors actually work pretty good for that. See, that's just nice and smooth and even. Alright, now you got to put it in these little cases. So again, she's going to give you a dimension on where to place those. I think I remember. But let's make sure.
Well, that's what I've been trying to do.
PC. This piece goes in first. I think it's that far. Yes. Okay, so we put this piece in first. And you only sew across the bottom of this piece. Now, before I sew across the bottom of this piece, I'm going to top stitch this. It doesn't really show, but it's still nice when I look inside that everybody's top stitched. So again, top stitching matters. So I'm going to take both these pieces, I'm going to top stitch them real quick. My A piece and my C piece. I'm just going to run a little line across there. There we go. Okay. Now I'm going to place these where she tells me. In the pattern. There we go. This one goes here. This one goes here, just on top of it, so they kind of lay on top of each other, so you can slide your cards down in there. And now I just sew right across here. She has you sew the bottom of this first, but it actually kind of ends up right there, so just to save time, I'm not going to stop and stitch that twice. I'm going to do it once and be done. I'm a quick sewer. Now we go again. See, no edges. See how much time you save by not having to worry about raw edges and finishing? I just think these are great little
Yeah,
projects.
that's really neat. You don't have to
Yeah.
worry about that.
It really saves you time. And you know what's good about this is it's good for young people or maybe beginning sewists.
Yeah.
You're not having to do all that, stop and start. You don't have to worry about so many seams and things. So now I have my pockets for my business.
Your little kangaroo pouch.
Yep, it is kind of a little kangaroo pouch. All right, and you got a couple places for a couple business cards down in there. Okay. Now, pretty simple. You just fold this up. Now I'm going to test to make sure my flap matches, and it does. I love how that works, and it stays. You fold this up. I think she tells you 7 inches, but I just kind of fold it up to where it works. And now I'm going to sew down each side here, and that's then going to make the pouch. You want to be sure. I might drop it just a little bit because I do have to put a strap across there, and I want to make sure. And it's kind of nice to see those in the back too. So I'm going to drop that down just a scooch. And down the sides we go. I am going to lock it this time. Previously, if you've noticed, I'm not really locking stitches. I've not been too concerned about it at this point. It's going to have to reset here. But I am going to lock this because this is going to get some pressure to it. So I'm going to stitch back a little bit. And I'm going to lock it at the bottom too. I've carried some of these around for a while, and it's amazing. The stitches just kind of stay. The other thing you could do if you forget to lock your stitches is go back in and put a little dot of glue on it. Put a little dot of super glue or fabric tack on it. And that'll hold your stitch in place. Okay. There's that. Looky there. Now, at this point, I could put a strap or not a strap. I could put a strap on the back of this so it could go over a belt. Like I can see putting a little piece back here where you could slide it off and on a belt if you wanted to. It's basically just a little pocket at this point. But she offers the opportunity to make straps. And like we've made straps before, with this piece, because of the length and width of cork, you can't get a long enough piece to make this strap. So you have to sew 2 together. Not a problem. We can do that. You're going to put them diagonal like this, and you're going to sew across here. And what that does is it gives you a nice sturdy a seam that's going to be solid and safe. So you take the 2 corners and you just lay them on top of each other. I'm going to sew it a diagonal from here to here. So we're looking at this right here. From this corner, there's the corner, to that corner. And this is a stitch I probably am going to lock. So I don't want this coming apart. It's probably a space on the bag that has the potential to be weak. Go backwards on that stitch too. It's a short little piece. I wasn't prepared to be there that quick. It's like, wait a minute, I'm already done. Okay. Now, what she tells you to do with this seam, and I will tell you when I read it, I thought, I don't think that's right, but she's right. Never just, you should believe it. I'm going to cut this piece off. And then you take this seam and you open this up like that and lay it flat. And you need to because there's too much bulk if you don't. And then she actually even tells you to top stitch that, which I did, and I'm glad I did. So I go along each side. And then this is going to give me my strap. And you sew that seam down. Okay. And now, is this just like we made the previous strap on the other one? Except with this one, she only has you folded in half. You're not going to do a 4-fold. This is just an in-half fold. When you look at this right here, there's my raw edge. Okay? This is a folded edge. This is a raw edge. The cork can handle it. So since I don't have to do a 4-fold, I'm not going to use my zipper tape this time. I'm just going to fold this in half. And I'm not going to fold this, the folded side. I'm going to sew the open side. And I'm just going to put this right in here, and here we go. And this is really, again, this cork just holds its shape, man. Okay. Okay, now we are ready for the hardware. Now, these little links in here are not required. You could simply use the one strap, run it across the center, and be done if you wanted to. But the thing I want to teach you is how to put a slider buckle on. This is one of those things that with a bag that's really nice to have because you can adjust the length of things. We'll use slider buckles again. And then these are just decorative. Let's just, it just makes it cute. That's all. So these come in kits. You get 2 of these little buckles in a kit. I like having this kind of stuff on hand. I use it all the time. It's what dresses up. It's what puts you at a new level as far as the function of it. Just make sure when you get the dimension of what your buckle is that it matches the strap. You can make the strap whatever size you need to match your buckle. So when you're looking at putting a buckle on one of these, the first thing you do is you put one end of your strap through the buckle. And then you sew this down. Now you can also use rivets here. We'll use rivets at some point, but today I'm just going to sew this. And it's as simple as just sewing across that right there. You have to kind of get the buckle out of the way with the presser foot, but basically I would just want enough there to hold it down. And this can be a little tricky to sew because it wants to move. I'm going to need my stylus because it likes to slide on you. So I'm going to slow this down. And typically, I go back and forth a couple times. You want to be careful not to sew through cork too many times, or it will cause it to break because it's not quite like fabric. So I just kind of make sure that's good and secure. She looks a little messy, but we'll clean her out. Just clean that stitching up a little bit so she's not. There we go. And so now I've gone through my buckle once. Just like that. I'm going to drop my stylus. Okay. Now, the other ends of my buckle are going to go through these. Oh, open sesame. Why do they hermetically seal these things? I don't understand. There we go. Okay. So when you look at these chains, they've got 2 ends. See, each little end's going to go, that's going to hang down and go in through that. So what I want to do is put one of these on here. Okay. And then I take this very end and I go back through the buckle again. Okay. Because then, oops, I'm going to go through this way. Put it on upside down. Okay, wait, let's go back and do it again. So I have to go back through this like this. Like that. Over the top. So I want to make sure that this is flat. Okay. And I'm putting my buckle on this way. So everybody, so I'm putting right sides together. Okay. Because this is going to go then back through that. This way. And this way. See how that goes through that buckle? And now I have a slider, so I can slide that back and forth. The cork doesn't slide very good, which is great, because then I can pull that up and get it to where I want it and adjust where I want that. So that's how you put a slider buckle on. And then this piece is going to attach to the bag. On this end, then I put this piece through here, and I sew it down just like I did the other one. You see how that's making my slider buckle now? Pretty cool. That's another feature that really dresses up your bags. It makes people go, oh my gosh, that's so cool. Now we're going to sew this down, just like we did the other side. Again, don't sew through the cork too many times because you will break it down and it will not hold that. Let's make that a little shorter. The main thing is I'm trying not to have this part of the buckle underneath my presser foot because it's hard to sew. So I just keep it out of there. That's the main thing. And the stylus. See how it's bunching up there? See how that's bunching up a little bit? Because I didn't have my stylus. So I'm grabbing my scissors for now. There we go. Got to kind of start slow. And there we go. Okay. Quick and easy. Now I'm going to take, we'll stay right here, Peter, these ends, and we're going to do the same thing here. This is the smaller piece, and I'm going to run that underneath, and sew it down. And I like to have that side up. And my buckle's not under my presser foot. See how my buckle's out from under my presser foot. And I just go back 2 or 3 times and lock that stitch. Then I'm going to take the next end, making sure this is the same way. So this is flat, and now this is the same way. Don't twist that. Make sure you get your tabs on the same side. If I put the tabs on the opposite side, this will be twisted. And here we go again. Just making sure that is out of the way. Okay. So now here's my strap. Okay. There's my strap. And it's simply, you open this up and get sewn in right there. So I'm going to find the center. This is how you find the center. There's the center of the thing is right below that center. Pop that open and lay that up against the edge. It's between these two. There's my card spot and there's that. And I just lay this down and I sew. Now I'm going to sew on the lines that are already on my strap. Just because, and actually, I'm going to turn this over so that the folds are on the inside. I don't think it matters a whole lot, but it just may look a little nicer. So these tabs are also on the raw side of the bag. And I'm going to just sew around this. And I'm just following that line. And this is another one I'm going to definitely lock that stitch because it's going to have a little stress on it. Look at that, we're done. How quick was that? I love it. I love projects that are one and done, that are fast and easy. You know, if I'm having a bad day, let's say I'm quilting and it's just not going well, you know, pieces aren't fitting together, I'll stop, make one of these little bags, because it makes me feel like I've accomplished something. I don't know, I think sometimes we spend so much time working on big projects that we forget that the little projects are what can give you some joy in just a heartbeat's minute. So I'll get this untwisted here. There she goes. Looky there. Isn't that fun? Great little bag. I can adjust this however I want. Folks, these are your little Sallie Tomato. They're called Sophie, which I love the name of the bag. Perfect little gift, great for kids. Again, I wouldn't hesitate to make this out of vinyl. Clear vinyl. I know a lot of times when you go to concerts now, you have to have a clear bag so they can see everything you're carrying in. This would be a great project for clear vinyl, again, because you don't have to have those finished edges. Magnet works great. Clasp catches the magnet's good enough and heavy enough to get through there. And this little bit of bling makes it special. You could certainly leave the bling out and just do it without the bling if you wanted to. Measure what exact length you need it. You wouldn't have to put in a slider if you didn't want to. So lots of different ways to put this bag together and make it the way you want it. I encourage you, please don't be disappointed if you feel like it doesn't come out perfect. Perfect isn't the goal. Project finished is the goal. So thanks so much for watching, and next month we'll have another bag we're going to make. It's going to be even more fun. I hope you join us. Have a happy stitching day.